Today we're going to be working on this beautiful old piece of equipment. It's an exceptionally old lathe. I don't actually know how old it is. We're going to do a few upgrades to it today. It has this little plaque on here to show that it was distributed or maybe just sold in Sydney here. As it's just a bit of a chart. Has multi-speed sort of setting. Has all the gearing on the end here, so you can do thread cutting if you game. It's a pretty old machine, but what we're doing today is this little old motor here. It's not very fast. If you have a bit of a look-see, I'm not sure if you can get it there. It's 0.5 of a horsepower. And that's pretty quick. And this, the RPMs on it is 1420. So what we want to do is go a little bit faster and a little bit more horsepower, because whenever I bog into a heavy piece of steel, more mild steel than anything, or just good old hot rolled, I'm no lathe expert, but when you bog into a piece, put a deep cut or drill out a deep hole through the center there, it slows right down. The belts don't slip, it's just not enough horsepower to push this little thing along. It does, the belt does slip on startup, but once it gets under load, there's no slippage. I've used a bit of, that spray stuff you put on there, a bit of belt grip, and it seems to work quite well, but the motor just does slow right down. So the job today is to pull this rear engine carriage off, and I'm going to put a bigger engine on it, a bigger motor. And what I've sort of selected today is a treadmill motor with variable speed, which will open up a whole lot more things here for me, and I'll be able to use the speed a bit more. I'll give you a bit of a run in a sec on it, a bit of a picture of it running in a sec. It's a good little machine, does everything I've ever tried to do. Not that I'm great at running an old lathe. If anybody knows what it is, what brand it is, if somebody would like to put a comment down below, that'd be really good. Might help me out a little bit, try and find out where its origins are. Obviously it's sold in Sydney, but it'd be good to know. Let's get into it. Hang on, I'll give it a spin. It's a bit hard one-handed. What a great bit of gear. So here's the motor that I'm going to try and install. Give it my best shot. Just average old treadmill motor, nothing exciting. It's all DC though, so I've got a converter and a few other things. But what I'm going to do is put a bridge rectifier and a variable speed on it so I have more control. So it says between 1.5 horsepower to 3 horsepower. I don't quite understand why that would be the case, but the RPMs is 4800 at full noise, so we'll have plenty of control, plenty of different speed settings. Just going to sort of hook up these crude old pulleys and a bit of belt and make that assembly all together and see what we can do. It's just a matter of mounting and making a slide adjuster, and so let's get this frame off. Let's get into it. So this is how the old jigger is set up. Nothing exciting, just with a couple of leather straps, one on these pulleys to the lathe, which go under there, which you saw just before me taking out, and then this one, and it's pretty old. I've made this little base frame a couple of years ago. Put these pillow blocks on the shaft just to give it a little bit of an ease of operation and actual grease points, because the good old lathe just has little oil pots. I'll show you. You just take off this little cap and you pour down there. I'm not sure if you can see it. You just pour a bit of plain old engine oil in there, and it's sort of like a engine bearing in these journals here. So I'll just keep these little caps on them, just give it a bit of protection. And but now I'm upgraded with the pillow block bearings, and the theory is we'll mount the motor, the new motor, down here somewhere, something like that, and put this jigger on this end, of course there somewhere, and take the old motor off. I'll leave all the brackets there just in case this whole exercise is a waste and I've stuffed up, but let's get into it. So, pulleys on. Spins pretty true. No real misalignment there, that'll be nice. Yeah, just got to put a straight edge on and sort of see where it sits. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to cheat a little bit with this, the original part out of the treadmill, just to save myself a little bit of time making bracketry and so forth, where that sort of slides. I don't know if you can see it right there. There's the original 4 bolt holes, and as a bonus they've got castellated nuts on the back. So sit that there, and then the hole's already there. All I've got to do is put the long bolt in through and boom boom, it's done. And then I've just got to mount this part onto the frame. So here goes. So it's all welded on. Funny little bracket, and the spacers and everything all lined up. Probably saw me out there with a straight edge. So let's put it back on the old lathe. Let's get into it. have it. Mechanically it's all mounted. It looks so tiny compared to the old motor, but it says up to 3 horsepower or whatever it was. I've only got a single V-belt on it at the moment because that's the only pulley I had down there for that size shaft. So we'll see how that goes. If not, I can put a little bit more tension or just buy a 2V pulley and then we'll have no trouble. As you can see, I rejoined the old belt again with a couple of zip ties. Pretty handy, works really well. Everything works fine and back in place. And I put a little bracket down here. So when we get to the electrical part, I can mount that there and put all the controls on it. So today is electrical on this machine. Now I've got all the components laid out here today. Now I've got to say, I'm not an electrician. I do have a friend who is an electrician and we'll look over the actual connection side of everything. But I'll be doing the assembling today and he can have a look at it later before anything gets dramatic. Now what we have to put it all together is this little component box. Put all the parts inside. Now this is just an indicator light to tell you that the 240 is on. This is a little speed controller. Now you can buy these through eBay Australia. I can actually put the link to where I got all the description for this type stuff. This is because the power supply is 240, the Australian 240. Well, it says 220 there, 10 amp, but it's a 240 circuit with a jug plug, which this whole piece come from the Treadmill, which I pulled apart, and then it goes through. So the 240 goes through the speed controller, which reduces the amount of actual current, and then it goes through this little grey thing, which has 4 little terminals on top. Here's one here, just in the pack still. It's called a bridge rectifier, which goes from AC power to DC power. Pretty simple. And the Treadmill motor that we've got is a 180 volt, and if you just don't put that to full speed, it'll be fine. But I'm pretty sure the durability of these Treadmill motors, they would run them at full noise anyway. So it goes through the bridge rectifier, which just comes apart there and follows down these other 2 wires to the little clips, and they plug into the 2 wires that are on the back of the motor. Now the only thing we can't forget is, because we're still working with AC, is the earth wire. So we earth that down to the base of the machine, and I run a wire along with these ones, and there's an earth wire out of the back of the DC motor. So the little light is just to give me an indication that the power is actually to the speed controller, because the speed controller, you can go right down to 0 RPMs and it won't be running, but there'll still be power into this unit, into this box through this power controller. So it's just a bit of a safety thing, and we'll try and get it all together for you so you can see it running. Something else I'd like to try and do, I'm not sure if I'm going to get to it today, is this is the foot switch that I had with the old motor, the old 1400 and something other RPM motor, or half horsepower. So I think it's a 15 amp foot switch, so it'll certainly handle all and every bit of power that I'll be putting through it with this little motor, the Treadmill motor, sorry. I've just got to hook it into the circuit, and then I have foot control as well as variable speed. That'd be awesome. So I've mounted the controller box and run the conduit and run the flex over the other end, and I'll just wait for my electrician friend to come and do his bit, and then we'll be able to give it a test drive. Hopefully he can do this pedal for me as well. Here we go. So we're all done. My electrician has come and gone. He's a bit camera shy, so he didn't really want to be on any of this. So with the box is all done, it's all hooked up down there. Can't really see it real well. And he hooked up the pedal and everything for me, which is nice. So we'll give it a little go. Put your foot on the pedal, and we got a green light, and then we just give it a bit. Whoa! So that's nice and slow. Let's just give it a little bit. So I just take my foot off the pedal, light goes out, we're away again, and like that's only just on, and it's on the lowest speed of the belt. So if I give it a bit, we've got plenty of power. I don't actually know what the RPMs are, if you work out the ratio and everything, but I think we're on the money. Now I just got to have a chance to test it out on some heavier steel and see how deep I can do a cut without it stalling. Probably the next phase should be maybe putting a guard over these belts. A little bit scary. Might get to that in another video. So there we are, it's all done. And yes, I'm very happy. It runs exceptionally well, and I won't have any trouble with future projects on it. Might actually get to show you some down the track. So give us a thumbs up, and if you like the content, subscribe, that'd be nice. That'll help the channel out a lot. I'll talk to you later, eh? See ya. I think it might be hot. Never seen blue chips before, or a blue job.